It is Tuesday, the 24th day of November. The year is 2020. A warm and hearty welcome to another edition of Business Redefined, your weekly most comprehensive look at the world of business and economics. It has been an uncertain year for most businesses, and the banking sector has been no exception. Data from the Central Bank of Kenya shows that as at the close of the third quarter, loans worth 1.1 trillion shillings, or 38% of the sector's loan book, had been reprofiled due to the adverse effects of Covid-19. Across lenders, the corporate banking arm of the businesses has been scathed like any other, from asset finance, trade finance, transactional services, and mortgage business. Tonight, we speak to the head of trade finance at KCB Group, George Mutiga, to get a sense of the corporate banking landscape. George, if you can hear me, welcome on set. And just to kick off the conversation, you head up the trade finance section of KCB. Of course, one of the immediate effects of Covid-19 was the disruption of trade flows. How did this impact the business?
Hello, Mboko. Hello, viewers. There are words that come to mind, like unprecedented. We have heard that word quite a bit this year. Uncertainty, another word. So there have been impacts that have I think never been really anticipated in our business. So in terms of trade finance, we've seen impacts, reduced business, of course, on the back of reduced activity by our customers. Manufacturers reduced their activities, some shut down due to, there was reduced business. Some it because they could not access markets, they could not access suppliers of some of their materials. They could not move goods between themselves. Like when there was a country lockdown, there were also lockdowns around the world, including some of the countries where they source their goods. So all this did affect the trade finance business because of we intermediate between buyers and sellers, and also help manufacturers to do their work.
Okay, and
so impacted. Yes.
Sorry to cut you short, but we know from your Q3 numbers, or rather from the group's Q3 numbers, that loans to the tune of 9.3 billion shillings had been restructured. How is your outlook like going forward for the trade finance section?
I think it's tied to the uncertainties that we see now. Not everyone has suffered. There are, of course, sectors that have really suffered, like hospitality, real estate, learning institutions. There are those who've really been negatively impacted. Some manufacturing, but there are those in manufacturing who've done well. So we expect that some of this will continue. Now, the uncertainty thing I was talking about, that we don't know how long this lasts, but or what happens, say, the next month or 2 or 3. But we expect that some of what we see probably will continue. So we'll see some activity supporting those that are, seeing their business beginning to recover. Like, for example, so energy calmed down, but now people are moving since lockdowns were removed. So we see that sector looking up. So some areas will do well. So we expect that we will see business looking up as some people, some sectors do well, but there'll be those that are down, and their impacts will continue. Some people will not make it through this. Perhaps they were not doing well, or just that it's been a long year, and they just won't make it. So that will impact. It will be muted. Whatever the growth there would be, it will be muted into the new year.
And speaking about the fragility that was already in the business environment, one of the challenges that manufacturers have pointed out to me is that not only are they dealing with COVID, they are also dealing with a significantly weakened currency, because they are importing, of course, in hard currency, and they're making sales in the Kenya shilling. When they do the conversion, clearly they have an impact they're absorbing there. How are you seeing this unfold as far as your business is concerned?
Yeah, you are right, Mboko. We have seen the shilling lose approximately 1 shilling every month since March, from about 105, 106 to about 113, 114, about now. So about 1 shilling every month. So this would affect now customers who had, say, worked with their costing based on a dollar that was 110, 105, who now at the point of making their sales and collecting receivables, they are doing this at a time, or are paying for those goods now and through, say, an LC that was opened when somebody was working with about 105, 106. And now you are paying that LC when the dollar that you are paying with is now 113, 114 and going up if things don't change. So it will affect margins. Some may end up having to push that to consumers. So it affects our business in terms. Some people may then reduce. If of course, their market shrink, customers buy less, consumers buy less, then of course they'll do less as we go forward because then have stocks that are not moving. So we will see trade impacted. We will see customers, manufacturers, even traders now are impacted in the sense of that I can't sell because what I have is too expensive unless I go below my cost. Then I'm in the red. We will be impacted that way, among others.
Definitely. And we were in the process of reopening the economy. Now we're talking about potentially a second wave of COVID-19. Definitely this has an impact as far as the business activity is concerned. How do you see this unfolding in the near term to medium term, perhaps?
The second wave, we have already been hit very hard by the first wave. We said, of course, that's not even across sectors, but overall, we have been hit. You've seen the country's GDP growth rate come down, and not just here, but across the world. So that has been impacted. Now, a second wave comes, and the numbers from our CS are not encouraging. So a second wave is in effect here and also in Europe and elsewhere. So as we go on, the challenges people the president and may have to take measures to perhaps do a lockdown or restrict activity in some way so that people in hospitality may still not get the break they will be hoping for. And that business could stay low. Institutions that, like learning institutions that need students to be at school, as second wave happens, the partial opening may not progress quickly to a full opening. So again, you've got fewer students in school. So of course, then your activities and the fees that you collect that help you pay some of those fixed costs are not going to come. So you are in the infrastructure, you are a developer, mortgage developer somewhere. Again, if you are depending on, say, the government, if you are in the infrastructure space, government's finances, first of all, constrained by lower taxes because of reduced activity, and then there is a health emergency they need to deal with, so less in terms of resources to go around. So you see activity, things becoming even tighter for you in that area. So more if you are the owner, developer of the properties, reduced disposable incomes means people are not going to be looking to buy new homes anytime soon. And some, as you may have seen, have gone back perhaps to a rural home, to one place, to cheaper housing because they lost their jobs or they are at half pay or that kind of thing. So I see things being tough even with the second wave, and it could get tough. And if it stays tough, then also for some people, like we say, they may not make it out of this. There are those who will struggle through. They learned some things. They got lean. And in their business, they know how to manage at very low cost levels. People like those will make it fine through this, and they'll benefit. Of course, there are those who are benefiting. If you are doing in healthcare, you are seeing good business in that area. So there are those that are benefiting even in these times. You are processing, if you are a trader, we are seeing traders benefiting. So some of those, even with the second wave, may see that business keeps looking good for them even as we progress.
All right, and that point by Mr. Mutiga takes us to a short break. We are focusing on the subject of corporate banking in light of COVID-19. When we come back, we'll be discussing a lot more about mortgage, SME, and project financing. Stay tuned.
Leo Safaricom wanasherehekea miaka 20 na wewe. Piga star 444 star 20 asi. Tumia shilingi 20 pekee. Tunukiwe 20 minutes na 20 MP.
Karibu mom. Let me take care of your hands.
Kwa sababu ni muhimu kutunza mikono ya mama, Omo ina chembe asili ya kutunza mikono ya mama anapofua. Omo, nguvu ya kutoa madoa sugu, kutunza mikono.
Kenya is on the rise. It is powered by you. You are innovative. You are passionate about the future. At Stima Sacco, we are a reflection of you. We are a stable, financially sound institution providing tailor-made services to add value to your life, time and money. We are guided by your aspiration. We are Stima Sacco, a true reflection of you.
How powerful is the healing power of Vaseline? We applied Vaseline jelly to one leaf, the other we left alone. After just a few days, the difference is visible. Nothing locks in moisture better to keep skin restored. That's the healing power of Vaseline.
To help fight the spread of coronavirus, learn Lifebuoy's hand washing habits. Wash hands with soap or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Together, let's help fight the spread of coronavirus in Kenya.
Close-up Deep Action with antibacterial formula and deep cleaning gel keeps your teeth clean and protected. Close-up Deep Action. Enjoy long-lasting fresh breath and more.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more. Like serving up your best, eating together and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Enjoy the magic of Christmas with Coca-Cola.
Tunapata mtoto mimi na Max.
What?
Max was super excited about your story. Where?
Tuna spend karibu siku nzima pamoja. Sema lunch, sema tena mama, we.
Miss me already, babe.
Usijaribu kunitabebu wa mjinga. Kumbe unapanga harusi na Jamila, wewe.
Utendo cheki Sara kwa macho. Alafu mshow Sara, mimi ni mwanaume. Na mwanaume haizi angalia chakula ikienda hivi kama vile fisi anaangalia ikienda. Ataingia box pap.
Istiqbal is now in Kenya. We are the voice for quality, colorful, innovative, and functional home furniture with presence in 92 countries worldwide. Celebrate our end-year sale of 50% off.
You're watching Business Redefined in association with KCB Bank.
Welcome back to this edition of Business Redefined. Tonight we are looking at corporate banking in Kenya in light of COVID-19, and on set we have George Mutiga, the head of trade finance at KCB Group. George, welcome back on set. Before the break, we delved quite extensively into trade finance. Let's talk a little bit about SMEs. Even before the pandemic, SMEs were a point of fragility for most banks from an NPL, or should I say asset quality perspective. How is it going right now? Because one, of course, of the challenges they cited was the issue of pending bills. We've seen the government trying to make those payments. How is it like now?
The SMEs have been affected just like the rest of business. They had an issue with interest cap that got removed. But in this uncertain economic environment, many would still be in a high risk category. I mean, you can expect, you've seen the NPL, the asset quality numbers for the industry deterioration. So generally, banks will be a little more risk averse than before. Now, when dealing with the SMEs, that may even be more so because they may be supplying some of those, maybe the value chains of some of those big corporates who are in trouble or who have reduced activity or who are taking longer to pay. So they have been impacted. Yes, of course, there could be pockets here there of people who are doing well in these times. But yeah, generally affected adversely.
And George, we're having this conversation within the context of the credit guarantee scheme, which the central bank, the treasury, players like the World Bank are quite involved in. How do you expect this to recast this landscape of SMEs?
It should help. If lenders have some fallback on a guarantee, say like in this case from the government, you can be a little more willing to lend because beyond, of course, your assessment of the SME and the viability of what it is they're doing, you know that if things do actually go wrong because the macro environment deteriorates, beyond their control, that there is a place that you can fall back on. So it may encourage lending. But it may encourage some lending, but banks must still be satisfied about the viability. We won't just lend because there's a guarantee, of course. So we must be satisfied about the viability of the enterprise in terms of what it does, who it supplies, who supplies it, and that everything is working well. They can sell, they can recover, they can meet obligation.
And speaking about de-risking SMEs, what more can banks do as a sector for SMEs? Because one of the challenges banks will tell you is that even the investability of SMEs by itself is a big challenge because a number don't keep books, they don't have records which you can refer to as far as their cash flows are concerned. How can you help them as a sector?
There is that scheme. They can come to their banker, to their branch that they prefer, and talk to their business bankers. We can talk to them about how they can, do their business better. For example, we have something for in KCB, the Biashara Club. So a way that we bring them together and grow skills, even in bookkeeping, Because if you come to the bank and say, I want to borrow, and what do you have to show for it? I believe I make very good sales and I make very good recoveries and I do this, but if there's no record beyond perhaps a little book somewhere, something audited, something good that a bank can stand by, can work with, that would be a problem. So keep books, talk to your banker. If you are a KCB customer, join the Biashara Club. So we can look at your business, see how we can work together. Some of the SMEs may be suppliers to or working with a corporate. So there are ways that we can work together so that working with the two sides, we can help them, do better. So keep books, take advantage of this time. There's a silver lining. Cut out the fat in your business so that, no extra costs. And come with a good plan. When you come to the bank, if you're in trouble, come with a good plan about how you would come out and where the bank can come in, right? You may have to put in a little of your own, but a little more than you have done. But yeah, come to the bank, talk, and we see how we can work with you to make things better. Yeah, but it's a tough time. But there are some that will get stronger through this, and they'll be the better for it at the end of the pandemic.
Switching gears from SMEs, George, and to look at the mortgage side, Clearly, a huge chunk of the restructured loans are in the mortgage sector, understandably. So even before COVID, I think this sector was in a bit of a slump. How do you see it playing out going forward in light of the present circumstances?
Mortgages. If you are selling units, you're selling, looking for people to take your units on loan. That you must be struggling, and indeed they are, because if a lot of people have lost work or gone on unpaid leave or reduced incomes, then they are not thinking of buying a house. Now, those who may be having a house could be struggling with loan repayments, So, for instance, think of teachers who are in the private school. It's been a lot in the public domain about how just teachers who are struggling because the only revenue they have as a school, and therefore to pay their teachers, is the school fees that comes. If schools are closed from March until October, where were those incomes? Where was that money to pay salaries? Therefore, to repay a loan or to go into a mortgage. So people may be struggling. They have gone to the bank perhaps and gotten some extensions, moratoriums, but I think mortgages will struggle. And then coming out is not something that January comes and we are all out of the pandemic. We don't know that we'll be out of pandemic. In fact, we expect to continue a bit, and that economy has just bounced back. There will be it will take some time. So I think people in the mortgage space will continue to struggle. And then also the new reality of people working from home. Post-pandemic, that may not change a lot. It may be perhaps muted here compared, say, to the West and other places, but there will be a bit of a hybrid. There may be that it may continue that people work from home.
Yeah.
Now, if they do that, you are in the office development space. You have a problem, because then if people demand less space for their staff because their staff are at home, there could be a struggle there as well. So I think they're in for a tough time going forward with the second wave and what comes next until the economy recovers well.
Great, and we're running out of time, but just on the project financing beat, the argument tends to be that lending is extended based on the projected cash flows, not necessarily the balance sheet. Many lenders you speak to right now are asking, how do we even project cash flows in this kind of environment? How are you making sense of that, George?
That word, uncertainty, apart from unprecedented, yeah, projected cash flows. Now, what are your assumptions as you're making those cash flows? We thought when we began 90 days, so even gave moratoriums 90 days. Okay, they came back for another 90 days. Okay, June, September, December, we're talking 2021 now. How do you project the future in something like this? Of course, you must still make some assumptions. We are a going concern, banks are going concerns, and so are our corporates. So we will look at those, I think, assumptions, those projections very carefully. But I think there will be an increase in the equity contribution in those projects. We would expect the promoters to do more, to bring more of their own money on the table. Because it's just, we don't know, we can't see the future, we can't see very far. And what we thought of it in January, in June, is not what it is. So even how can we say about next year, the next 5 years? So it will be a bit tough in project finance. But there are projects that will be good, well-structured, they're in something that, that makes sense. There's enough of the owners, promoters' contribution that they will stay committed. The bank stake is not so great, and because of the way it's been structured, it will have a higher chance of success. So there will be some, but it will be much fewer until we begin to see stronger light in the distance.
Great, and that point by George takes us to the close of our conversation, where we have been looking at the subject of corporate banking in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the opportunities and challenges being presented by the present situation, of course indicating that as far as project financing is concerned, clearly there will likely be a more demand for an equity stake from the persons engaging in this because of the uncertainty which now begins to impede the capacity to which cash flows can be projected. Up next is a markets review. Taking a look at the NSE 20 share index closing at 1790.72 points. That's down 39.46% since the year started. But compared to yesterday, up marginally by 0.2%. And crossing over to the currencies, the FX market, the shilling close to the USD at 109.54. That's down 0.08%. Against the sterling pound, 146.58. That's down 0.8%. And against the euro at 130.34. That's down 0.36%. Clearly, the shilling continues to cede ground compared to the major currencies in light of the developments both locally and also in the global environment. Right, and that takes us to the close of Business Redefined, this edition where we've been looking at corporate banking with the head of trade finance at KCB Group. Join us again next week, same place, same time, for a different subject, still on the banking sector.
Business Redefined in association with KCB Bank.
Go ahead is believing to make each day a brighter day.